What's going on, people? My name is Alex Elliott, back again with another plugin review. Today I'm going to be talking about Felt Instruments KOLOR. Now I do have to say a huge thank you to Grunge Film, because he's someone who dropped a comment on one of my videos and he actually let me know about this plugin. Otherwise I would have never known it existed. And I'm so glad I know it exists because it's absolutely wonderful. On the surface, it seems like it's just an EQ, a 3-band EQ. But when you jump into this and you hit these buttons, you can see that there's loads of different curves that are available per band. As well as that, you have different models of saturation down the bottom here. And then in addition to that, you can drive the input of those saturations. So this isn't adding 40 dB to the overall sound. It's not going to be 40 dB louder, but it's the model of how it would sound if that preamp was driven, if the input of that preamp was driven 40 dB. It's a really, really incredible plugin. It's got a lot of character to it, but I don't want to sit here and just talk the whole time. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through this track using the EQ, just get into a flow state and just start playing with it, mixing and editing this track to bring the energy out of it, because I really believe that rather than just saying how something sounds, I just need to show you and just tell you how this thing sounds. Let's jump into it. As you can see, this faux do, I'm a huge fan of this because it sounds so aggressive, but then you can like tone it down by reducing the input. Now, straight off the bat, I'm sure you're hearing what I'm hearing, but this is adding, how do you explain this? So many plugins, right, are EQs, but I feel like another company that's really nailed this analog sound when it comes to boosting top end is Pulsar Modular as well. And when I think of this EQ, I really do place it into the same ballpark as those EQs, because it's a brightness and it's a clarity on top, without it sounding harsh and without it sounding digital. And a lot of plugins claim to be analog. A lot of plugins claim to be achieving this, but they actually just don't. And with this one in particular, it really is. And I think part of the reason why that's the case for this plugin, the developer actually emailed me and he was telling me that he approached the plugin design in the same way that acoustical audio approaches their plugin design. So he's using like impulse responses rather than using like an algorithmic model of the unit. He's actually captured the impulse response of the different units, of the different EQ curves. And then I think for the saturation, he's doing some kind of algorithmic madness and then auto gain level matching it as you drive the input. Honestly, there's so much going on underneath the hood, but the main thing is off the bat, smooth top end on drums, smooth top end on vocals. I already know this thing's going to sound amazing on strings, but I think this is becoming a staple for me when it comes to adding that top end. For the low end, I think for me, I like to have a lot more control on my low end. And what I've seen so far is it seems like a lot of the low ends are just shelves. Now, I do think that's fantastic, especially if you're using it on the overall mix. That could be really dope. But for me personally, I like to have a bell curve when it comes to boosting my low end. But let's have a listen to how the low end sounds anyway. I'm going to put it over my bus that has my kick and my basses in it, and we'll just go ahead and just boost it and just see how that feels. I might, yo, I know I just went on a whole rant about the low end, but bruv, what? That is some bass. Now, if you're hearing what I'm hearing, the punch of my kick is completely disappearing. So I don't feel like it's best suited to be over my kick, because I guess the way that I'm doing it is I'm boosting the low end and then lowering the output, which means the punch and the attack of that kick is disappearing. But if I take that EQ and put it over my bus instead, and put it before fuser, which is what I'm using to dynamically duck the frequencies of the low end, I'm curious to see how much of an impact it will have if I place it there. Wow, that's a really aggressive high pass cut off, because when I put that at 40, that really took out the low. But wow, yo, this thing on bass is dope. Like I said, I think I spoke too soon because I was messing around with like the low shelf, and obviously when you have to lower and gain compensate after you boost low end, you end up losing the attack of the kick, right? But this time round when I'm listening to it, I don't know if it's because I'm just playing it loud or I didn't have my subwoofer on earlier, but the actual like low fundamental frequency is like coming out. But because it's also across the bus of my bass, he had modeled the dynamic relationship that happens as you boost saturation. So it's now impacting the compression as well. So as I'm saturating driving into this, it's essentially like making my bass like come together, which is just something I didn't expect. And as you can see, straight away, I've gone to this Fodu because Fodu's my vibe. But honestly, Picot, whatever this thing is, bruv, this was also doing a madness as well. Let's have a listen to that. Now with the snare drum, that Fodu, man, that Fodu's calling my name. That Fodu saturation, I feel like if I just crank that and put that snare through it, I'm really curious to see how that sounds and then just back it off a little bit if it gets a bit too broken up. Let me go to a part of the music where it's a lot more dense so that we can really hear how it stands out over the mix. I mean, that is sharp. Honestly, even if you just bought this thing just to use it on your snare drums, I think it would be money well spent. I don't think another EQ is going to touch my snare drum or touch my drum bus, because what this does to that top end, like the way that it's adding like the kind of feeling you get from like Ozone Exciter, as well as like the feeling you get from just that kind of saturation of driving transformers, the compression, the tone. Honestly, I think for me, when it comes to adding top end, this is going to be my go-to. And when it comes to adding that grit and that energy from my drums, I think this is definitely going to be my go-to personally. So check them out. I've never heard of this company before, Felt Instruments. Like I said, thank you to Grunge Film for putting me on. But this color EQ, I think you're going to be seeing it a lot more in my videos. My name's Alex Elliott. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, like and subscribe. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you all next time.
Yeah.